All right, welcome everyone to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at something pretty interesting, I think. The rise of what some people are calling search AIs. You might also see them referred to as search engine augmented LLMs.
Large language models.
Large language models, exactly. Now,
You've probably
heard of large language models, right?
Yeah.
Those powerful AI systems that can write different kinds of creative text formats and like translate languages, write different kinds of creative content.
Yeah. The things that took the world by storm about a year or so ago.
Exactly. And so what makes these new systems different is their ability to like use real-time information, information that's out there on the web.
Yeah. So think about it. Traditional LLMs have this huge amount of knowledge, but it's kind of like stuck in time. It's all the stuff they were trained on.
Right.
Search AIs are different. They use the internet to find the newest information possible to answer your questions. It's like giving them a library that's constantly growing and changing.
That makes sense. So it's all about combining the smarts of these language models with the most up-to-date info.
We've seen, we've all seen some of the big names in tech developing their own versions of this, right? Google, Bing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
ChatGPT even has its search functionality.
Yeah.
And Grok is another big one out there. And of course, we can't forget about Perplexity AI.
Perplexity's done a lot in this space.
Yeah, they've made a name for themselves, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now, all of these are impressive, and they show what this tech can do. But the problem is that we don't always know how they work. Like, it's kind of a black box.
Right.
And that can make it hard to really understand and build on these advancements.
For sure. Transparency is really important in AI.
Exactly. And that's where today's deep dive comes in. Open Deep Search, or ODS.
I love the name.
It's a great name, I think. And it has a big goal to bring the power of search AIs into the open source world.
That's a big goal. Ambitious.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The idea is to create more transparency and encourage collaboration among developers. Yeah, democratizing AI, right?
Exactly. And it could even lead to new businesses built on open search AI tech. Now, what's really cool about ODS is how it works. It's all about taking open source LLMs, which anyone can modify, and giving them the ability to use web search tools in a smart way.
So it's not just about giving the LLMs a bunch of search results. It's about making them intelligent searchers themselves.
Yeah, like teaching them to be researchers.
Exactly. Very cool.
So let's break this down a little bit. ODS has two main parts, right?
Yeah.
We've got the open search tool and the open reasoning agent.
That's right.
And these work with an LLM that the user chooses, right?
Exactly. Think of the open search tool as the way ODS finds and processes information from the web.
Okay.
And the open reasoning agent is the part that decides when and how to use that tool, and maybe other tools too, to give you the best answer.
Got it. And for anyone listening who's wondering how an open source project stacks up against the big companies, well, the early results are really promising. They've used these benchmarks called SimpleQA and Frames.
Standard benchmarks for this kind of thing.
Yeah, and ODS is performing close to, and sometimes even better than, the big names.
That's impressive, for sure.
Yeah,
Right.
and ODS v2 actually did 9.7% better than GPT-4o Search Preview on the Frames benchmark. That's a big difference.
Wow, that is significant.
And there's this open source model called DeepSeek R1, and on its own, it can answer fact-based questions pretty well. But when you add ODS to it, it gets so much better at handling more complex tasks, especially those multi-step reasoning ones from Frames.
It's really highlighting the power of that augmentation.
Absolutely. So let's get into the details. First up, the open search tool. Now, the research paper talks about these other open source search tools like OpenPerplex and Perplexica, but the open search tool in ODS does things differently.
Yeah, OpenPerplex and Perplexica are good at making web search available to LLMs, but they mainly just give the language model the raw search results, the SRP.
Right.
The open search tool in ODS is smarter. It uses several intelligent layers to interact with and process those search results.
So it's not just a link dump. It's actually trying to make sense of the information it's finding.
Exactly. One of the big things it does is query rephrasing.
Query rephrasing. So like instead of just searching for exactly what you typed in, it changes things up a bit.
Exactly. It comes up with related but more specific queries to cover different sides of your question and find more relevant info.
That's really interesting. So like if I were to search for something broad, like how do I make my internet faster?
Right, a common question.
Yeah, I might get a lot of general advice.
Sure.
But if ODS rephrases that into more focused questions like, how do I make my Wi-Fi signal stronger?
Right.
Or how do I increase bandwidth?
Yeah.
Or how do I reduce latency?
Exactly. Much better.
then it's more likely to find actual solutions that I can use, right?
Exactly. It's going from a wide net to a laser focus.
So cool. And it doesn't stop there, right? Once it gets the search results, it does even more.
Right. During retrieval, the Open Search tool formats the results in a structured way, kind of like the fresh prompt format. This means it includes not just the text snippet, but also important metadata like the title of the web page, its URL, a description, and even the date it was published, if it's available.
Oh, so it's giving the LM a lot of context. Like, is this source recent? Is it reliable?
Exactly. And it actually prioritizes results from sources that are considered trustworthy.
That makes sense. Got to filter out the noise, right?
Absolutely. And then there's this augmentation step that goes even further. It can actually scrape the content of those top web pages.
Like read the whole page.
Yeah, breaks it down into smaller chunks and then creates what we call embeddings of those chunks.
Embeddings. Like, what's that?
Think of it as turning the meaning of the text into numbers. This lets ODS see how different pieces of information are related to each other.
It's like giving meaning to the words, right? Not just seeing them as text.
Exactly. And after creating these embeddings, ODS uses a re-ranker to find the most relevant passages. This helps the Open Reasoning Agent focus on the most important stuff for analysis.
It's like a multi-stage process for finding the best info.
Yeah.
Super smart.
It really is a multi-layered approach.
Very cool. So that's the Open Search tool. Now let's talk about the Open Reasoning Agent, the brains of the whole operation. What's its main job?
The Open Reasoning Agent takes your question, looks at the context the Open Search tool has found, and then figures out which tools to use, maybe even doing more searches to build a complete and accurate answer.
So it's like the strategist deciding how to tackle the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've actually explored two versions of this agent, ODS v1 and ODS v2, right?
Yes, each based on a different approach.
Cool. Let's start with ODS v1 and its React agent. React stands for reasoning and acting, which kind of gives us a hint about how it works.
Yeah. React is really interesting because it works in cycles. It doesn't just jump to the answer. It thinks about what to do, takes an action like doing a search, sees what happens, and then uses that info to think some more.
It's like a learning process, right?
Exactly. Very dynamic and adaptive.
I like it. And ODS v1 uses something called chain of thought reasoning, or CoTE, right? What's that all about?
Right. So CoTE is about getting the LLM to explain its thinking process step by step before giving the final answer.
Interesting. Why is that important?
Well, by making the model think out loud, so to speak, it helps it come to more accurate and logical conclusions.
Oh, that makes sense.
You can do this by adding phrases like, let's think step by step to the prompt.
Okay.
You can also give it examples of how to reason through similar problems, which is called few-shot prompting.
So it's like giving it some training wheels, some examples to learn from.
Exactly.
Now, what happens if the React agent isn't totally sure about its reasoning? There's this backup system called chain of thought self-consistency, or CoTSC. How does that work?
So with CoTSC, instead of just using one line of thinking, it comes up with several different ways to reason about the question. It looks at the answers from each of these different paths and picks the one that shows up the most.
So it's like a majority vote among different reasoning paths.
Exactly. It helps make the reasoning more reliable and robust by looking at things from different angles.
I see. Now, you mentioned the React framework has this thought, action, observation cycle. What does that look like in ODS v1?
In the thought phase, the agent looks at the problem and figures out what to do next.
Yeah.
Then comes action, where it chooses a tool, like the Open Search tool, and sets it up.
Right.
Observation is the result from the tool. The agent uses that in the next thought phase to keep reasoning and decide what to do next.
It's a constant back and forth until it gets the answer, right?
Yeah, it keeps going until it's satisfied.
Cool. And ODS v1 uses dynamic few-shot learning to make prompting more efficient. What's the advantage there?
The key is picking the best examples to include in the prompt for each question. Instead of using the same examples every time, dynamic few-shot learning uses something called vector similarity matching. It finds examples that are most similar to the current question from a bigger pool.
So it's like tailoring the training examples to each specific question.
Exactly. This helps the model learn from the most relevant past experiences without making the prompts too long and computationally expensive.
It's like finding the closest analogies to help guide the thinking process.
That's a great way to put it.
Now, it's worth mentioning that ODS v1 was a community effort. They got people to help develop a bunch of different React prompts, right?
Absolutely. That was a great way to get lots of creative and effective reasoning strategies.
Yeah, the power of open source.
Exactly.
So ODS v1 has three main tools it can use. We talked about web search, which uses the open search tool. What are the other two?
We've also got mathematical processing, which uses the Wolfram Alpha API for calculations and quantitative reasoning.
So, like math stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have continued thinking, which lets the base LLM break down complex questions into smaller parts or explore different aspects of a problem if it needs more information.
It's like giving it the ability to do a deeper dive when needed.
Exactly. It's a way to handle those really tough questions.
So the whole workflow for ODS v1 is use the open search tool to find relevant info, then feed that into the React agent with some guidance from structured prompts, and that leads to the final answer. Right.
This is a perfect summary.
And in the research paper, there's this example from the Frames benchmark that really shows how well ODS v1 works. I had to calculate someone's age based on when they won a poetry prize and when one of their books was published. ODS v1 with DeepSeek R1 did better than Perplexity's Sonar Reasoning Pro on that one.
Yeah, it's a great example.
Both systems had some trouble, but ODS v1 was able to find the right person, use Wolfram Alpha to figure out their age, and even convert the units. Perplexity got confused with the different dates and ended up giving the wrong age.
It shows how useful it is to have access to tools like Wolfram Alpha and to use them in a smart way.
Right. Being able to do calculations is so important for certain types of questions, and ODS can handle that really well.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, let's move on to ODS v2 and its CoTE agent. This one's a little different, right?
Yeah, it uses a different approach. CoTE is all about chain of code.
Chain of code. So,
Yeah.
It writes code to solve problems.
Yeah, pretty much. See, chain of thought is great for understanding language and reasoning about meaning, but it can have trouble with precise calculations or symbolic stuff. Chain of code gets around this by using the LLM's ability to write and run code, sometimes even just pseudocode, to get more accurate and reliable results.
So it's not just thinking in words, it's actually writing programs to solve parts of the problem.
Exactly, a whole different level.
That's pretty cool. And CoTE builds on this by using Python code to talk to external tools. Why Python?
The researchers think it has a lot of advantages over using JSON, like better ways to combine actions, more modularity, and easier generalization to different tasks.
So it's more flexible and powerful.
Exactly.
ODS v2 also uses the small agents framework. What does that bring to the table?
Small agents is basically a toolkit for making, customizing, and sharing intelligent agents.
Okay.
By using this framework, ODS v2 becomes more flexible, and it's easier for developers to build on it, add new tools, and adapt it for different uses.
So it's like making it more accessible and user-friendly for the open source community.
Precisely.
Now, the paper talks about a basic CoTE agent that uses the search tool. But it sounds like it can do more than that.
Oh, yeah. It can handle much more complex situations. It can use multiple tools together.
Okay.
And even have multiple agents working together to tackle really complicated questions.
That's pretty amazing. So it's not just limited to web search. It can branch out into all sorts of things.
Exactly. It opens up a lot of possibilities for the future.
All right, let's talk about those benchmarks again. SimpleQA and Frames. They were really important for testing ODS v1 and ODS v2. Can you remind us what each one focuses on?
SimpleQA tests how accurate language models are at answering factual questions with clear answers. These questions were designed to be tough even for models like GPT-4, and they're not allowed to use web browsing.
So it's a real test of their knowledge.
Right. Frames is different. It looks at how well a model can find and use information to answer questions that might need one piece of information or several from different sources.
Those multi-hop questions can be tricky.
Yeah, they are. And Frames gives the model specific Wikipedia articles to use as sources. So both of these benchmarks are really good for evaluating search AIs that use the internet.
Makes sense. So how did ODS do on Frames, the one that tests search and reasoning together?
The results were really good, especially for ODS v1 with DeepSeek R1. It did a lot better than other LLMs and search AI systems, even though it only used one web search on average for each question.
Wow, only one search. That's impressive.
Yeah, ODS v2 used a bit more searches per question, but it got even better results.
It's like it knows when it needs more info.
Exactly. That adaptive strategy is really important.
And the paper mentions that a powerful model like Gemini Pro 1.50514 needed 15 searches to do, as well as ODS v1. That's a big difference.
It really shows how efficient ODS is.
Now, what about SimpleQA, the benchmark that focuses on factual knowledge without internet access. Did ODS do well there?
It did surprisingly well, even better than some of Perplexity's solutions. This tells us that ODS isn't just good because of its searching abilities. The Open Search tool finds such high-quality information that it helps even when the task doesn't need multiple searches.
So the information retrieval itself is a big part of its success.
Absolutely. There are examples in the paper where ODS finds the right answer because of the context it gets from the Open Search tool, while Perplexity struggles.
It's like it has a better understanding of the information it's working with.
Right. And there's another example where ODS uses Wolfram Alpha to do a calculation correctly, while Perplexity gets confused.
It all adds up to a really impressive performance.
For sure. And you can see this in Table 3 of the paper. ODS v2 is at the top of the open source solutions for SimpleQA, and it's right up there with the best closed source systems.
It's closing the gap, which is amazing for an open source project.
Absolutely. Open collaboration is leading to some amazing advances.
The researchers also did an ablation study. What's an ablation study and why is it important here?
It's a way to see how much each part of a system contributes to the overall performance. So they took ODS v1 with both Llama 3.1 7-year B and DeepSeek R1 as the base models.
Okay.
And they removed or added back different parts of the system, like the Open Search tool, the React reasoning, and the few-shot prompting.
So they were testing each piece individually.
Right. And they wanted to see how those changes affected the performance on SimpleQA and Frames.
What did they learn from that?
It showed that every part of ODS v1 is important. Adding the Open Search tool made a big difference in accuracy on SimpleQA.
Right, because that's where the information comes from.
Exactly. Then adding the React agent and the few-shot prompting each made things even better.
So it's not just one thing, it's the whole package that makes ODS so effective.
Exactly. It's the combination of good information retrieval and smart reasoning.
I see. So what's the big takeaway from all of this? What's the main message about Open Deep Search?
I think the biggest thing is that it shows open source can compete with and even beat the big companies in search AI.
That's huge.
It is. By combining these advanced reasoning agents with a really effective open search tool, ODS is really pushing the boundaries. It suggests that maybe powerful search and reasoning won't just be controlled by a few big tech companies.
And because ODS is designed to work with any LLM, it's future-proof in a way, right?
Absolutely. As open source LLMs get better, ODS will benefit without needing a major redesign.
That's a smart move, and it's already doing really well. It beat GPT-4o Search Preview on some frames tests, and its SimpleQA results are strong too.
That's right. It's a validation of the whole approach.
The paper really highlights two key innovations. The Open Search tool, which finds such good information, and the Open Reasoning agent, which uses tools so intelligently.
Those are the core of its success.
And the fact that the whole thing is open source on GitHub is a huge deal. It means anyone can contribute and help make it even better.
It's a great opportunity for collaboration and innovation.
Absolutely. If you're interested in checking it out, the link is github.com/sentient-ag Open Deep Search.
Check it out.
We'll also put it in the show notes. It's a really exciting project for anyone interested in computer science and software engineering.
Couldn't agree more.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a question. What does it mean to make these powerful search and reasoning tools available to everyone? How could open source projects like ODS change the future of information access, knowledge creation, and innovation, even beyond computer science? What new possibilities might emerge? It's something to think about.
Yeah, big questions. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for joining us. It was a pleasure having you.